It was nighttime in the city of Gotham. The city was filled with citizens and cars roaming its streets. It seemed as if the whole city was alive. However, there was something unusual about this day. There seemed to be a certain wall crawler swinging around. Spider-Man was swinging from building to building in Gotham. This wasn't his city, but he was here for a reason. To find someone called Batman. Why is Jameson asking me to take pictures of this so-called Batman? It's 3 days away till Christmas. He might not even exist. Spider-Man thought to himself. Apparently, J. Jonah Jameson had heard of someone in Gotham named Batman. He demanded that Peter Parker go to Gotham and get pictures of him or else he's fired. Currently he was swinging around with his camera to look for him. It wasn't the only reason why he was here. He heard that some of Scorpion's men were moving a shipment into Gotham. Why they were doing this, he wasn't sure. While Spider-Man was swinging around, he noticed some strange-looking people waiting outside a building. They were dressed in black and wore black masks over their faces. Spider-Man decided to get closer and investigate. "Geez, it's cold. Why can't we be inside too?" said one of the men. "Would you stop complaining? We're out here to make sure no one interrupts the deal," said the other thug. "Who's gonna do that? No else knows about the deal," said the first thug. "You're right, but we're here to make sure no one might have caught wind of it. Now stop whining and keep watch," said the second thug. "Whatever," the first thug said with a groan. "Looks like Batman will have to wait, time to do some investigating," Spider-Man thought. Spider-Man webbed his camera onto the wall, then dropped down in front of the two men. "Hey guys, how's it going?" he said. "What the? Who's this freak?" said one of the thugs. "It's that Spider guy. Get him," shouted the other thug. One of the thugs tried to punch Spider-Man, but he stepped to the side and countered with a knee to the gut, followed by an uppercut that sent the thug in the air, until Spider-Man pulled him to the ground with his webs. The thug hit the ground with a loud thud, knocking him out. The other thug tried to grab Spider-Man, but Spider-Man grabbed his arm and threw him over his shoulder onto the ground. Then he jumped high into the air and landed on the thug's stomach and webbed him to the floor. "These guys never change, do they?" Spider-Man quipped. Spider-Man tried to open the door the thugs were guarding, but found it locked. "I'll have to find another way," and Spider-Man thought to himself. As he looked around the building, he saw an air vent he could use. He grabbed his camera and webbed the front of it and pulled down, tearing it off. Spider-Man then entered, crawling through the tight space. When he reached the end, he found himself on a platform just above the floor, where there seemed to be a deal with two different groups were exchanging money for weapons. "Let's see if this is even worth the money," said a thug who wore a jacket with a penguin logo on the back. "Don't worry, Black Mask's a man of his word," said another thug who, just like the men outside, was wearing a black mask and a black suit. "So the guys in black work for someone named Black Mask. What about these other guys?" Spidey pondered. "We'll see, because if they aren't, Penguin won't be pleased with your boss," said the Black Mask thug. "Oh. Well, that was fast. Alright, time to crash the party," Spidey thought. Spider-Man webbed his camera to the wall and jumped off of the platform and on top of one of the Black Mask thugs, knocking him out. Everyone reeled back in shock. "Hey everyone. I heard that there was a Halloween convention here. Is this it?" Spider-Man asked. "Who the heck is this guy?" someone shouted. "Who cares? Let's kill him," shouted someone else. "I mean, it's weird that everyone's dressed in costumes and it's almost Christmas, but hey, who am I to judge?" Spidey said as he jumped over a thug who charged at him. All of a sudden, a window shattered as someone leapt through it. Everyone stopped what they were doing to see who it was. It was someone wearing a heavily armored suit that looked like a bat. "Oh great, who is it now?" a thug complained. It's Batman. Take him out," another thug shouted. "Wait. This is Batman. I thought Jameson was pulling my leg," Spidey thought before his Spidey senses went off. One of Penguin's men tried to punch him from behind before Spider-Man dodged it and kicked him into a nearby wall. Spider-Man and Batman took on all the men in the building, knocking them out with their combat and tools. When Spider-Man knocked out the last guy, he walked up to Batman and said, "Hey, thanks F," before he was grabbed by the neck by Batman and lifted him into the air. "Who are you?" he shouted, but then Spider-Man brought his feet onto Batman's stomach and kicked off of him and did a backflip. "Whoa. Easy. I'm not a threat. I came here to stop this," Spidey said as he landed on the ground. Batman glared at him, but he dropped his guard and said nothing. Spidey could feel the awkward silence and decided to break it. "I'm Spider-Man. I guessing you're Batman. What are you doing in my city?" Batman questioned him. He knew he couldn't tell Batman why he was really here. He looked like someone you don't want to mess with. Plus, if he explained that he needed a picture of him, it would come off as creepy. He knew he had to use his other excuse. "An enemy of mine ordered a shipment here. I was looking for possible locations when I came across this place," he explained. That man just glared at him until he said, "When you're done, leave my city. I don't need any more problems." When he finished speaking, he turned to man soon realized he still needed a picture. He quickly grabbed his camera with his webs and got a picture of him while his back was turned. Thank God the flash was off. Spidey thought as he left the building as well. When he looked at the picture, he realized that it was out of focus. Great. Just great. He thought as he groaned. On a snowy Christmas Eve, in a dark cave, a large group of bats hanging upside down on the ceiling. One bat crawls over to a noise it hears by the entrance. All of a sudden, Bruce Wayne enters the cave, alerting the bats and making them fly around the cave in alarm. Following the batch of scurrying bats, Wayne walks into the main room of the cave, the tray lending off with the bats diving down into the darkened chasm. Police and emergency services are urging Gotham residents to stay off the roads in their homes tonight, in light of the severe winter storm warning. Came a voice from the radio. On a monitor nearby, a news reporter named Vicky Vale was interviewing Bruce Wayne. "No man's an island, Bruce. You've been back for almost 2 years now. You can't expect me to believe that Gotham's most eligible bachelor is spending another Christmas alone," she said with disbelief in her voice. "You just ran out of time," Bruce said as he walked off camera. In the back, you could hear a voice say, "Well, so much for that." It belonged to a man named Peter Parker, who was trying to get a few pictures of Bruce Wayne, but he left before Peter could get one picture. Bruce then switches the channel to another interview of the GCPD. "Knowing that tonight, we put to rest one of Gotham's most heinous and relentless killers, Julian Gregory Day," says Commissioner Loeb as he is being arrested. "Commissioner Loeb. Any comment on the rumor that it actually wasn't the cops who captured Mr. Day?" asked a reporter. Gordon then appears on camera. "There is no such thing as a Batman." All the reporters start shouting at once, "Captain Gordon. Captain Gordon. Commissioner Loeb. No further questions, no further questions," said Loeb trying to calm the crowd. Over the radio, someone is saying, all units, code 10 at Blackgate prison. Communication is down, possible 2 to 11. The faithful butler of the Waynes, Alfred, walks in and sets a platter down. A picture of the Waynes reflecting off of it. "Delta 6-4, en route," says a voice over the radio. "Dispatch, 5 to 9, confirm code 10 is a breakout," says another voice. "Suspect identified as Black Mask. Repeat. Code 10 suspect is Black Mask. Commissioner Loeb is being held captive. Repeat, Commissioner Loeb is 701. Came the same female voice as before as Black Mask's profile came up on the computer. Alfred watches as Bruce waits for his glass-encased costume holder to arise from the ground, revealing an armored black and gray batsuit. Bruce shoves his hands into the gloves, clips his belt, assembles his grapple gun, and adjusts his mask before setting his jet to activate via control node on his gauntlet and marches towards the Batwing. It arises, reading for Batman to enter as he approaches it. "You do realize it is Christmas Eve, sir?" Alfred said over the jet engines. Batman ignores Alfred and got into a scooter-like chair and lets it arise into the Batwing with him, reading for launch. The Batwing moves around and zooms out of the Batcave through a waterfall. Elsewhere, another hero is receiving news of the breakout now. "Man, I knew cops could be corrupt, but not this corrupt," Spider-Man thought as he looked at the scene before him. Spidey had found the shipment, and it seemed like the cops were making a deal with Scorpion's men. Some of the GCPD officers had gotten greedy with their weapons in the department and had tried to get the weapons for themselves. Spider-Man had intervened with the deal and interrogated one of Scorpion's men on what they were doing in Gotham. The thug told him everything. He said half a shipment was here and the other half was already gone. When he was done, Spidey knocked him out cold. All of a sudden, the radio went off in one of the cars the cops had driven here. All units, code 10 at Blackgate prison. Communication is down, possible 2 to 11. Spider-Man went up to the car and grabbed the radio through the open windshield to listen. "Delta 6-4, en route," says a voice. "Dispatch, 5 to 9, confirm code 10 is a breakout," says another voice. "Suspect identified as Black Mask. Repeat. Code 10 suspect is Black Mask. Commissioner Loeb is being held captive. Repeat, Commissioner Loeb is 701, said the same voice from earlier. "Blackgate. Prison riot. I've got to get down there," Spider-Man thought as he took off in the direction of the prison. Good thing they tell you where everything is on the tour. When Spidey got there, the whole place seemed to be on lockdown. "I need to find a way in, think Spidey, think," he thought as we swung around the prison. He then saw a drone smash through a window into the prison. "What's that doing here?" Spider-Man thought as he entered through the same window as the drone. Following the drone wasn't easy. Spider-Man was always running into escaping prisoners, and he would lose the drone sometimes. He then spotted the drone. "There you are," he said to himself as he began running. When he was a few feet away from the drone, it stopped moving, and Spidey was just 1 foot away from it when he turned his head to see Batman. "What are you doing here?" Batman demanded. "I could say the same about you," Spidey said, but was responded with Batman narrowing his eyes and looking more angry. "Look. I heard there was a prison riot over a police radio. I came here to stop it." Batman was silent before saying, "Leave, I can handle this, and I don't need your help." "No. I get that this is your city, but that won't stop me from doing the right thing. I'm not here to ask for your permission. I'm here to arrest Black Mask and stop the prisoners from escaping. I'm staying whether you like it or not. Now, can we work together or am I doing this alone?" Spider-Man stated. "Fine, but you do exactly as I say," Batman said after a few moments of silence. While the two were arguing, the drone had moved forward a bit. They began to walk toward it until it broke through a window above them. Then the prisoners were released from their cells. Batman and Spider-Man both got ready for a fight. Batman began to let loose multiple strikes on 2 prisoners. Spider-Man had sent the 3rd prisoner flying into the gate that had closed behind them. When the prisoner got his bearings back, he was greeted with strikes to his face before Spidey drop-kicked him into the gate, knocking him. Spider-Man turned around, he saw one prisoner knocked out, and the other was getting jumped on top of and punched hard in the face. The only way to advance is to grapple up and over this gate. We should hurry, Batman thought. He looked at Spidey and said, "Can you get over this?" Spidey said, "Can I? Just watch me." Then Spider-Man used his webs to pull himself up onto the ledge and crawl through the space. "Do you need help?" he said slyly. Batman took out his grapnel gun to get onto the ledge and onto the other side and walked past Spider-Man. "I guess not," Spidey said quietly. "Please. I can't take any more," said the guard. "If you take Black Mask's money, you do what he says. If you give him lip, this is what happens," says the heavily armored thug. Batman and Spider-Man look ahead to see a large reptilian-like man throwing another security guard across the room with his mouth. "What is that?" said Spider-Man, but was met with no answer. The man, Killer Croc, walks away and out of the room after wiping his mouth. "But he's gone crazy," said the terrified guard. "Talk like that is what got you in this mess in the first place," the thug said before noticing Batman and Spider-Man and got ready for a fight. Batman just stunned him with his cape and attacked him with multiple punches before knocking him out with a headbutt. "Don't hurt me, please," said the guard. The two of them ascend to the ledge above them and walk through the door when it opened. In front of them was a metal door that looked beaten and scratched. "Let me out. Do you know who I am?" came a female voice from behind the door. "This is Vicky Vale, reporting live from Mike's Underpants," came a male voice from the other side of the door. One of the other men start to laugh. "On second thought, you can leave me in the cell. I'm fine here, thanks," she said with a scared voice. After Batman used a batarang to activate the button that opens the sealed door, Batman and Spider-Man slide into a room filled with thugs. Inside of a cell near the thugs are hostages, including Vicky Vale. "It's them," said a thug when the two heroes entered. "We gotta run," said another. "We gotta stay and fight," said a thug who had tried to punch Spider-Man, but had ducked and countered with some punches and kicks to the head and threw him into another thug. Batman had grabbed one thug by the arm and flipped him onto the ground and then broke his arm. Another thug had tried to punch Batman, but he countered it by picking up and over his shoulders and then sending him flying with a kick to the back. "Is that it's him? It's really him. Who's that other guy? Are we safe in here?" Vicky asked. Well, the two were fighting Black Mask's men. "How should I know?" said a cameraman in the same cell as her. "I think that's the guy from New York. Spider-Man," said the other cameraman. "What if they comes for us? We need to get prepared," Vicky said. "Relax. I heard on the news they only hurt criminals," said one of the cameramen. "And you believe everything on the news?" Vicky questioned. When the two had finished beating up everyone, Spider-Man and Batman moved over to the elevator and pressed the button to open the gate. There was nothing but a weak floor below them. "Who is he?" Vicky whispered. "Great. We're at a dead end, what now?" Spidey asked as he stepped onto the weak floor. "That area of the floor is weak. I can use my explosive gel to break through," Batman told Spider-Man as he dropped down onto the floor and started to spray a bat symbol with explosive gel on it. "You're what?" Spidey said before Batman detonated the floor. Batman landed on the floor without much trouble, while Spider-Man tumbled on the floor a bit before stopping. "You couldn't have given me a heads up," Spider-Man said with irritation in his voice. "Quite," he said as he moved towards the window behind Spider-Man. They looked down through the window to see Killer Croc, Black Mask, and Blackgate prisoners. Killer Croc picks up a prison guard and slams him down onto the floor. "They say crime doesn't pay. But someone ought to check the good police commissioner's pockets. 'Cause they are lined with my money," Croc pulls out Loeb and forces him to face towards Black Mask, with a group of following prisoners surrounding them, cheering them on. And what have I got to show for it? My own men in the slammer. Not no more. No, tonight, we're making some changes. Some big changes. Killer Croc pushes Loeb through a door and out of view with Black Mask leaving the room. You're a dead man walking, Loeb. One of the prisoners shouted. This isn't going to be easy. Spidey thought as he and Batman watched some of the prisoners started to leave the area while others were staying. As Spider-Man was looking through the glass, Batman was attempting to rip the vent off the wall. What are you doing? Spider-Man asks as he watches Batman rip off the vent and place it on the wall. It's our only way to move forward, now follow me. He responded. As they crawled to the air duct, they could hear the prisoners talking. You heard the man, tonight's our night, said one of the prisoners. That's right, he's gonna kill Loeb tonight, said another. About time he got what he deserves. Heck yeah it is. Now, listen up. Black Mask let us out, so the way I see it, we owe him one. Let's clear this place of guards so he can make a clean escape, suggested one of the prisoners. You could do that. Me? I'm outta here. And knocking over the first liquor store I see, said one of the prisoners. Before another word could be said, Batman and Spider-Man dropped down onto the floor while Batman landed on one of the prisoners. Hey, I didn't sign up for getting my butt kicked, said a prisoner as he saw the two heroes. I can't believe this, shouted another prisoner before Spider-Man delivered a punch to his face. Hey, let us back in our cells, screamed one of the prisoners. One prisoner had ran over to a nearby fire extinguisher and picked up. He threw Riot at Spider-Man while he was distracted. Luckily, his spider senses kicked in and used his webs to catch it. I think you dropped this, Spidey said as he twirled it in the air and flung it at the prisoner. Spidey then jumped in the air and did a web kick to two of the prisoners. Batman was giving one prisoner multiple strikes to the chest and face when one of the other prisoners tried to punch him. Batman ducked it and elbowed him in the face, knocking him out. He then grabbed the prisoner from before by the leg and broke it. Black Mask'll see you both dead. You hear me, shouted the Black Mask thug once he reached the gate and closed it. Spidey webbed one of the criminals to the wall, making him unable to move. He then jumped on top of one of the criminal's head and slammed his foot onto his skull, sending him crashing to the floor. When the last prisoner tried to punch him, he jumped behind him and delivered a spinning kick to the back of his skull, knocking him to the floor. The prisoner was dazed until Spider-Man delivered the final blow and punched him in the face to knock him out. You two ain't getting past me, said the Black Mask thug once everyone was knocked out by the two heroes. Do you have a plan? Spider-Man asked Batman when he saw there was no way through the gate. Batman didn't respond, but he saw an open cell with a vent and it gave him an idea. Over here, Batman said to Spider-Man. Then Batman pulled out his Batclaw and fired at the vent and ripped it off the wall. Looks like I'm not the only one who makes their own gear, Spidey thought. How many tools do you have? Spidey asked as he and Batman climbed up to the vent. Spidey was met with no response. Not much of a talker, is he? He thought. Good. Looks like I scared them off, said a voice from the other side of the wall in front of them. Batman walked over to the wall and sprayed his explosive gel on it. He backed up a few steps before detonating it, sending the mobster flying. The two heroes moved forward to the execution chamber access. Batman throws two batarangs at two buttons next to the door in front of them. Once it opened, Spidey shot a web at the vent above them and pulled it off the wall. They both climbed up to the vent. While they were crawling, they could hear Black Mask talking. Part of me wants to just flip that switch, but it is Christmas Eve and he is the calendar man and that's just too perfect to ignore. The two of them stopped to listen and see through the opening in the vent. They saw Black Mask and his men in the executioner room with Calendar Man. You're going to owe me for this, Julian, and that could be useful. Sir, what do we do about Loeb? Asked one of Black Mask's men. Bring him in. Bring him in, he said. The two heroes started moving again and dropped down from the vent into what appeared to be an spectate room of the execution chamber. Through the glass, they could see what was happening. Loeb was dragged into the room and thrown onto the floor. What's this about, Cyanus? Haven't I always come through to you? Loeb asked as Killer Croc picked him up off the ground. You may have, Jillian. But things have changed. We're starting with a clean slate. And you're not on it, Black Mask said. What are you talking about? I'm not on it after all I've done for you, Loeb questioned as he was dragged into the gas chamber by Black Mask's men. They threw him to the floor of the chamber, then closed the door and locked it. Loeb began to panic. You can't do this. I'm the police commissioner, Danjit, he shouted as he banged on the glass of the door. Both Spider-Man and Batman tried to break the glass, but even with Spidey's strength, he was only able to crack the glass a little. The gas was released, and Loeb started to choke before he collapsed to the ground and died. Show's over, boys. let's go. Black Mask says as he and his men leave the room. For no apparent reason whatsoever, Killer Croc whacks one of Black Mask's men, causing him to slam into the glass and almost breaks it. What did he do that for? Spidey thought, deeply confused with what he saw. After they exit, Batman and Spider-Man dive through the cracked glass. We're too late. Commissioner Loeb is dead. Black Mask has a lot to answer for. Batman thought. Suddenly, Black Mask's men ran into the room. It's the Bat and that Spider guy. We're never getting out of here, said one of the mobsters. We gotta try, said another that tried to kick Batman, but his leg was caught and got an elbow to the face. Spider-Man went after the thug that was wearing body armor. He tied the mobster arms to his sides with his webs and then proceeded to attack with multiple strikes to his body and stomach before finishing him with a roundhouse kick to his face. Batman had blocked a kick from one of the mobsters, then kicked him in the stomach, then sent him halfway across the room with a kick to the side of his head. Then he jumped over to the other mobster and kicked him in the stomach and knocked him out. Then he went back to the other thug who was still on the ground and knocked him out by hitting him hard on the back of his head. Once they were done, the two heroes walked to the security corridor. Once they were about to exit, the ground started to shake and the two heroes stumbled back a bit. What just happened? Thought Spider-Man. They walked through the door in front of them. As soon as they entered, they heard voices above them. I told you to grab the memory card, shouted a voice that sounded like Black Mask. You wanted it smashed, so I smashed it, came another voice that was assumed to be Killer Croc's. The two of them see the drone from before destroyed on the ground. Batman walks over to and crouches down to pick up what looks like a memory card. It had better be, or the next thing that gets smashed will be your face, shouted Black Mask. Croc growls and then everything is quiet until they hear a helicopter in the distance. How does it look? Spider-Man asked Batman. The memory card is damaged, but I should be able to recover most of the data back at the Batcave, he replies. Where? Says Spider-Man confused of what he's talking about. No time to explain, we got to hurry. Batman says as he takes out his grapple gun and grapples up to the ledge above them as Spidey followed. Then the two climb up a ladder that leads to the roof. The two of them see Black Mask get in a helicopter and fly off with some of his men. Then a second helicopter lands and picks more of Black Mask's men. Killer Croc is about to follow when he picks up 2 cents. He gestures for the pilot to leave. Once it left, Batman and Spider-Man drop down behind Croc. Thought I caught your scents, he said over his shoulder while walking towards a propane tank. I know I caught yours, Batman says. Yeah, when's the last time you took a bath? Spidey asked. Croc then rips the propane tank off the ground and threw it at the two of them, but both of them duck under it. The tank exploded once it hit the wall, leaving a fiery mess behind them as the two get ready for a fight. Croc laughs before running over to them and tries to swipe at them. They both roll out of the way, and then Batman stuns Croc with his cape and begins to strike him. Then Batman grabs his head and slammed it onto the ground. Croc then slams his hand onto the ground trying to knock back Batman, but he had already rolled out of the way. Let's add some fuel to this fight, says Croc as jumps over to a propane tank and begins to rip it off its hinges as a helicopter brings in Black Mask's men. Spider-Man deals with the thugs while Batman throws his batarangs at the tank and makes it explode. Batman again stuns him with his cape and attacks him with multiple strikes. He then tries to slam his face into the ground again, but Croc catches him by the leg and throws him to the ground. Croc tries to bite Batman, but Batman is able to grab his face and stop him. Once Spidey taken down the men, he saw that Batman was in trouble and ran over to them. He web kicks Croc on the side of the face and makes him roll off of Batman. Croc then tries to send a shockwave at Spidey by slamming his fist into the ground, but he rolls out of the way. Croc then jumps over to another propane tank. Time to take this seriously, Croc says as he begins to rip the tank off its hinges again. More men drop out of a helicopter and try to attack the heroes, but Spidey deals with them, while Batman again throws a batarang at the propane tank and makes it explode. Spidey then tries to take on Croc himself and leaves the rest of the goons who are still standing to Batman. Spidey ties Croc's arms to his chest and begins to perform multiple strikes on him. Croc eventually breaks free and knocks Spider-Man to the ground and tries to bite him. Ugh. You really need to brush your teeth, Spidey says as he punches Croc in the face, sending Croc back a bit before Batman comes in and strikes Croc across the face. Hold it right there, Croc says as he once again picks up another propane tank. Again, Batman causes it to blow up as Croc picks it up. Batman then runs up to him, kicks him in the chin, and does a backflip. Spider-Man also runs up to him and drop kicks him into a gate. Croc falls over onto the gate and causes it to collapse and dangle above the sea. Croc got both his arms stuck in the gate as Batman and Spider-Man jump on top of him, causing the gate lower. Your boss. Where's he going? Batman says and strikes Croc, causing the gate to loosen. Only boss am, is me. Croc says, earning another strike, causing the gate to loosen more. You want teeth, I want answers. He says as he strikes Croc for a third time. Croc loods down to the sea below him that he thinks he's about to fall into before responding. Wait till Black Mask's assassins gets through with the two of you. What assassins? Batman shouts and punches Croc again, making the gate nearly break off its hinges. Croc laughs before he says, whoever wins is gonna be famous and rich. Batman strikes him for a final time, making Croc go unconscious from all the punches and the beating he received. Well, at least we know he won't be ugly. Spider-Man said as he stood over him. As the two step back onto the roof, they drag Croc off the gate just before it falls into the sea. Suddenly, a group of policemen including Gordon and Bullock show up, pointing their lights and their guns at the two behind them. Freeze, says one of the cops. Hold it right there, shouts Bullock. Got any ideas? Spider-Man whispers. One. He replies as he presses a button on his gauntlet. I'm taking you two in. Gordon says as Batman begins to back up with Spider-Man following his lead. Not tonight, Batman says. Spider-Man's spider senses go off, but he is too late to react as Batman pushes him off the ledge. Batman falls off the ledge after him. The cops advance towards the ledge to investigate, when suddenly the Batwing rises with Batman and Spider-Man on it. Batman hops into jet and presses a button on the controls that scoots his seat forward and makes room for a second passenger. Get in, Batman says over the roaring jets to Spider-Man. Spidey doesn't think twice before hopping into the passenger seat. Once the glass slides over the two, it takes off and disappears, leaving the cops in awe. No such thing as a Batman, huh? Bullock says to Gordon. You know, it would have been nice if you had told me your plan before you pushed me off the roof. Spidey said as he and Batman flew over the city. You're fine, aren't you? Batman replies. Spidey just rolls his eyes under his mask. Anyway, didn't know you had your own jet. Where did you get it? Spidey said. I built it, he says without much thought. Spider-Man was astonished. He built this thing, he thought, impressed with the jet itself. A few minutes passed by before Spidey looked out the window and saw that they were leaving the city. Hey, where are we going? Spidey asks. To the Batcave, Batman says as they fly towards an island. Spidey fails to see Wayne Manor above them as they enter through a waterfall into a cave. Once the jet landed, both heroes jumped out and landed on the ground. Spider-Man took in his surroundings. He was standing on a metal floor inside of a huge cave. Behind him was what looked like a training facility and some sort of car under construction. In front of him was a bunch of computers and monitors on a table. Wow. I wish I had a secret lair just like this, Spidey thought to himself. Standing in front of him was a man wearing a suit and bow tie. Who's this? Does Batman have someone working for him? Spider-Man thinks to himself. I see you brought an unknown guest into the cave, sir. May I ask who this is and why he is here? Said the man. Alfred, this is Spider-Man. I met him a few days ago. He's here to help. Batman tells him. Hey, Spidey said. Good evening, sir. Alfred then turned back to Batman while Spidey was looking around the cave in awe. Are you sure it's wise to bring him here? Does he know your identity? Alfred asks in a hushed voice. No, but he seems trustworthy. And I don't think he knows who I'm either. We entered the cave at a fast speed, Batman said, keeping his voice down. Alright, I respect your decision. Although, I never took you for making friends this quickly, Alfred said with a small smirk on his mouth. So, shall I warm up Christmas dinner? No. It's going to be a long night, Alfred. We just ran into a human-shaped crocodile, who told us Black Mask has hired assassins to kill us, Batman says as he walks over to the big computer. Spider-Man then returned his focus back to Batman and followed him. Batman inserts the memory card they had gotten from the drone into the computer. As they wait, Alfred asks assassin, sir? As in, more than one? That's right, Batman responded. And you hear this from the mouth of a crocodile man? Alfred questioned. His name is Killer Croc, Batman says as pictures of Croc fighting appear on the screen. And he's already behind bars. I feel bad for whoever has to share a cell with him, Spidey commented. I don't, Batman remarked. Let's see what else is on the drone's hard drive. Suddenly, a video started playing, showing Black Mask holding a meeting with his men and standing in front of a board with pictures of people on them. Each of them gets one of these envelopes. I need them delivered. Tonight, Black Mask says as he hands one of his men the envelopes. They're all hired killers. The best in the business. Black Mask isn't playing around, Batman states as pictures of the assassins pop up on the screen. Slade, Wilson, Deathstroke. Former military, subject of a failed medical experiment, Batman says as a video plays of Deathstroke fighting off a group of men and taking all of them down. Failed, you say? Alfred questions as the video shows Deathstroke receives an envelope. Garfield Linz, aka Firefly, burns on 90% of his body. His obsession is going to be his end. Batman says as Firefly's profile is shown on the computer screen. How unlike anyone I know. Alfred comments. Here's a face I don't recognize. Copperhead. Strange. These reports reference a male, not a female. Batman says as a video of Copperhead appears on screen. Huh? Spidey says, wondering why reports weren't female when the picture clearly showed a female. The video showed Copperhead in an interrogation room with a man. 14 escapes, huh? Well, you won't be getting out if he stops when he turns around to see Copperhead gone. What the he says looking around. However, he forgets to look up as Copperhead jumps on top of him. Help. Help. He screams as Copperhead breaks his neck using her leg. She then picks up the envelope for the bounty. Lloyd Lawton, aka Deadshot. Batman says as a video plays of Deadshot on a roof surrounded by police. Freeze. Shouts one of the cops. Says here he's an expert sharpshooter. Batman says. Reminds me of someone back in New York. Spidey thinks to himself. How on earth? Alfred asks. Suspected of many assassinations. Dangerous, but reckless. Batman continues. Street tough named Lester Baczynski. Calls himself Electrocutioner. Batman says as a picture of Electrocutioner on the screen. How shocking. Spidey remarks. Shiva. Batman says as a video plays of Shiva walking in a cemetery as thugs surround her. Her skill is unmatched. Batman continues. Then the video shows Shiva taking down all the thugs. One of Black Mask's men cautiously handed her an envelope. Then the video shows what the envelope says. On the envelope it reads one night to kill the Bat and Spider. Payment for this hit is $50 million. Then another video plays showing a large man wearing a mask jumping off of a shipping container and landing on someone, knocking him out. Bane. Here. In Gotham. Batman questions. Then the video shows Bane fighting two large and muscular men and killing them. Then one of Black Mask's men gives him the envelope from Black Mask. Why would he be taking money as a hired killer? Batman wonders. Mac Gargan, aka Scorpion. Never seen this face before. Was in some sort of lab experiment that messed up his head, causing him to have predatory instincts of a scorpion. Batman says as multiple picture of a man in a metal green suit and a long sharp tail that looks like a scorpion's tail appears on screen. Wait, Scorpion? What's he doing here? Spidey asks while getting closer to the screen. Do you know him? Batman asks Spider-Man. Yeah, he's from New York. I heard he was having something shipped out here, but I thought it was just to sell weapons. He's the reason I came to Gotham. Spidey says, thinking it wasn't just guns he was shipping to Gotham. Did he also ship his suit? Was that what the criminal was talking about? Here's someone else. William Baker aka Flint Marko aka Sandman. His body can become sand and form objects in his hands out of sand. Batman says, as picture of Sandman came on screen. Sandman. He's here too. Spidey says while looking at the pictures. Is he from New York too? Batman says looking over at Spider-Man. Yeah, I'm surprised he's here though. He hasn't shown his face in New York for 3 months. Spidey responds. Is that Warden Joseph? Alfred asks as a video of Joseph being dragged into a room by Black Mask's men played. The men shove him to the floor in front of Black Mask. Must be how Black Mask got inside Blackgate prison. He uses torture for intimidation and entertainment. Batman says as the video shows Black Mask about to put a lit cigarette in the warden's eye before it cuts off. Then assassins after your heads. What will you two do? Alfred asks them as the computer shows each assassin. We're going to find out who was operating that drone and make them tell us what they know. Then we're going to find Black Mask and put an end to this. He says as the video ends. Sir, I may be stating the obvious here, but you do realize that since you and I are the only people who know the Batman's true identity, and I doubt anyone knows our guest's identity as well, those assassins will all fail their mandate if you and him just spend the evening here. Alfred states. Spider-Man was about to respond, but Batman beat him to it. They'll put innocents in danger to attract our attention. I can't take that risk. Batman replies. I agree, there's no telling how far they'll go. Spider-Man says. And you two think it's a better idea to just put yourselves in their crosshairs? Alfred questions. Then the computer shows a picture of the drone they had seen earlier. There's only one person in Gotham who can get his hands on this. The Penguin. He's been tracking Black Mask. Its next waypoint was a rendezvous with Penguin's men at Jezebel Plaza. Batman says as the location of Jezebel Plaza shows on the screen. I'll make them talk. Batman then turns to Spider-Man. Are you sure you want to come along? I can handle this by myself. He says. They're after my head too. Besides, 2 of them are from my city. So of course I'll come with you. Spider-Man says. Alright, let's go. He says as they begin to walk towards the Batwing. You sure this is wise, sirs? Alfred asks. Don't worry, we'll be fine. Spidey responds. Well, in case you change your minds and want to train tonight instead, I'll keep the training facility active. Alfred says. Sirs, to make your travels easier, I went ahead and set up some auto-nav points at different areas of the city. One of my preset destinations should take you right to Jezebel Plaza. Alfred says before the two heroes could hop into the Batwing. Thanks, Alfred. Spidey says as they get into the Batwing. The Batwing lifts up in the air and turns around and flies off. While the two were flying towards the city, Batman realized that the nearby GCR tower was realizing a jamming signal. Alfred, I've got. Batman was interrupted by Alfred. I'm tracking it too. It appears the control towers you use for your auto-nav systems are putting out a jamming signal. Storm damage. Batman guessed. You two will have to go down there and find out yourself, sir. Got it. I'm close to one now. Batman responded. I hope it's just storm damage. Spidey said the last thing they needed was someone blocking their travel points. However, he knew the chances of it being storm damage was low. The two jumped out of the Batwing as flew over the tower and fell through the window, shattering glass everywhere. Before they could move forward, Batman handed Spider-Man a communicator. Here, you'll need this. It will allow you to communicate with Alfred. Thanks. Spidey says as he took the communicator from Batman and lifted part of his mask open and put it in his ear. Then two heard voices coming from behind the door in front of them. I swear, we're the only ones here. Look, Gotham Optics gets a call that a tower acting funny, right? So they send a guy over. But he never shows. Probably went home for the night, lazy idiot. Anyway, when he doesn't report in, they send us over. There's no secret plan here, fellas. We're just doing our jobs. The two begin to listen in on the conversation, and we're just doing ours. See, we've been hired to make sure no one touches this tower. Came a different voice. You want us to leave? No problem. Just let us go and it'll be like none of this ever happened. Yeah, but what if you decide to tell someone? So I texted the boss to ask what we should do. Gotta wait till he writes back. And you just, call him. Came a new voice. He only takes texts, this guy. Weird, right? But as long as he keeps paying us, he can use smoke signals for all I care. So does Gotham Optics give you good benefits? Vacation time? Health insurance? I'm thinking they must set you up pretty nice. I guess, said one of the hostages. Listen to you. Thinking about a career change. Nothing wrong with having options. True, true. Plus, after tonight they might have some openings. Oh no, please don't kill us. We'll see what the weirdo who hired us has to say about that. The two had enough waiting around and walked through the door and shocked all of the mobsters. They all jumped and pointed their guns at the two figures above them. What the? Grab the hostages. Panicked one of the men as he ran off to grab a hostage to protect himself. Why you seeing this? What the heck are those things? You two got some kind of death wish? I can drop smoke pellets to conceal my movement. Batman thought as he threw one to the ground. Spidey had no idea Batman was going to do that and was getting a little irritated with Batman not telling him when he was going to do something. As Batman grappled up to a vantage point, Spidey jumped up onto the ceiling and said, okay, you really need to tell me what you're going to do something before you do it. Batman ignored him and looked at the mobster with a hostage and told Spidey, attacking head-on is a good way to get ourselves shot, and probably the hostage too. But they won't expect an attack from above. Nobody ever does. Spidey said. I call dibs on this guy. Are those things out there with you? Shouts the mobster as Spider-Man crawls along the ceiling over to the vantage point above him. Are you crazy? We were answering a service call. That's it. You better not be lying to me, the mobster threatens. Once he was on the vantage point, Spidey used his webs to pull him up. He pulled him up so high he was above the vantage point. Spidey then pulled back on his webs to slam his head on the vantage point to knock him out. Then, he wrapped his webs around his torso and left him hanging. Screw this. I quit. Says the hostage as he runs to a safe spot. Both Spider-Man and Batman get off of their vantage points, and they both see a vent on the wall. We can sneak up on the hostage taker by crawling through the vent. Batman says as he walks over to it and rips off the vent cover. As he and Spider-Man made their way through, they could hear the mobsters talking. What the heck was that? You think it's the guy that hired us? You pee him off or something? No way. Besides, I don't get the sense he's the, physical type. Then Batman broke through the vent, knocked the mobster off his feet, and knocked him out with a strike to the chin. Get yourself to safety, and call the police. They'll want to see what's going on here. Batman said to the hostage. Okay, I will. This was just supposed to be a service call. Fix the tower. In and out. I need a new job. The two heroes spotted another vent to crawl through. Once they got in, they heard the mobsters talking again. "I'm out." "Where are you going?" "Where those things can't get me." Then one of the criminals grabbed a hostage. "Whoever you guys are, come near me and I'll kill this guy. I ain't playing." Once the two got out of the vent, they were in a small room right behind the hostage taker. In front of them were wooden boards. Batman grabbed the criminal through the boards and punched him in the face, knocking him out. "Holy crap," Spider-Man thought, shocked at how Batman just did that with ease. As they moved forward, the hostage began to panic. "I can fix the tower, whatever you want. Just, please don't hurt me. All we want is for you to get yourself to safety," Spidey told the hostage. Once they made their way down the hallway in front of them, they saw that the last guy was standing next to the ledge above them. Spider-Man crawled his way up the wall, and once he was just below the criminal, he used his webs to pull him over the railing, and swung him down onto the wall he was currently on, and webbed him to it. The two made their way over the railing and through the door into the control room. Once they were in the room, they saw a destroyed wall and a body. "Wonder what happened here?" Spidey said. "I don't think this tower malfunction is from storm damage. I need to set up a crime scene and find out what happened. I should start by identifying the victim," Batman thought. "What are you doing?" Spidey said as he saw Batman's eyes turn wide and stared at the body. "I'm using something called detective mode to find out what happened. It allows me to identify people and replay events. If I can find out what happened, I may be able to discover what's going on with the tower." Spidey didn't understand what he was talking about, but he didn't feel like questioning it. So he decided to stay silent, stand back, and let him do his thing. Victim's name is David Shannon, a Gotham Optics employee sent here to repair a faulty network tower. But what killed him? Scanning the DNA impact should provide an answer. Once he scanned the DNA, a reconstruction of the crime scene played. Impact analysis indicates the victim was killed by some kind of explosion, originating at that access panel. I should scan it for additional clues. It looks like the panel was rigged to detonate when swiped with a keycard. Someone really didn't want this tower repaired. And it looks like that same someone left a set of fingerprints behind. Batman thought once he scanned the panel. Then he contacted Alfred. "Alfred, I'm uploading some prints for analysis. Let me know what comes back." "Certainly, sir. Searching now and here we are. They belong to one John F. Baker. He's a rather unremarkable criminal. Small jobs mostly. Only, that's curious." "What's curious?" Spidey said, entering to conversation. "Ah, Spider-Man. Didn't realize Batman gave a communicator. Almost had me thinking that someone has hacked our communication. Anyway, Mr. Baker's dead, sir. His body was recovered from the Diamond District just under an hour ago. Looks like someone's tying up loose ends," Batman said. "I can bypass the booby-trapped access panel with my cryptographic sequencer. But I'll need the encryption codes from the victim's access card. Reviewing the crime scene will show me where it is," Batman thought as he began to rewind the crime scene. It showed the access card flying into the vent next to him. He opened it and scanned the card. "What's that?" Spidey said when he saw Batman open the vent. "It's the access card the victim used. It has the codes I need to hack any of the network tower's access panels with my cryptographic sequencer." "The what?" Spidey questioned. Batman then pulled out his cryptographic sequencer. It allows me to hack into any security panel," Batman explained. He then began to hack the panel. Once he entered the code in, the door unlocked. The two entered through the door and climbed up the ladder. Once they climbed up, there was a big metal door in front of them. "Alfred, contact the GCPD. Let them know about the body. Send the data from my analysis too," Batman said. "Certainly, sir. Does this mean you and Spider-Man have found the source of the disturbance?" Alfred asked. "I think so," Spider-Man responded. Spidey then walked up to the door and opened it. In there was another access panel. Once Batman was about to hack it, he was interrupted by someone appearing on the screen and was hiding his face in the shadows. Well, if it isn't the King Thugs themselves. Figured it was only a matter of time before you two showed up. Sorry about the mess downstairs." "Who is this?" Batman questioned. "Think of me as a great big mystery. One you two are never going to solve. Enigma then," Spidey said. "Oh ho ho. You must think you're so clever. Well, how's this for clever? I've taken control of towers all over the city. As long as they're active, your Batwing's useless. And it looks like it's gonna stay that way. I mean, this one's practically begging to be taken of Iron, and you still can't hack it. Pun intended, of course. We'll see about that," Spidey said as Batman began to hack the panel. Once he was done, Enigma came back. "And Black Mask's not going to like this." "What are you talking about?" Batman asked. "Wouldn't you like to know?" Enigma said as he disconnected. "Yeah, that's why he asked. Spidey thought to himself. I see that you two have regained control of the Batwing, sir. I suppose it's off to Jezebel Plaza, then? Alfred asked. That's the plan. But then we've also got to let on Enigma. Batman replied. Don't overthink it too much, sir. We both know you two will eventually wind up doing both. Then the two opened the door next to them and walked out of the room. Then climbed up the ladder in front of them and onto the roof. Come on, if we don't get to Jezebel Plaza before that arms deal, we'll have no way to locate the Penguin. Batman said. Alright, lead the way. Spidey said as he and Batman jumped off the roof and made their way through the city. Once Spider-Man and Batman reached Jezebel Plaza, they soon realized that no one else was around. Looks like we're the first ones here. We need to find a spot where we can stake this place out unnoticed. Batman said to Spider-Man. Spider-Man spotted a gargoyle above them, it seemed like the perfect spot for them. Hey, about right there. Spidey responded while pointing at the gargoyle. Batman nodded and grappled above them as Spider-Man zipped up to the gargoyles with his webs. The two began to wait atop the gargoyle for Penguin's men. Batman perched himself on the gargoyle while Spider-Man stood on the glass ceiling behind him. So, who's this guy we're looking for? Spidey asked as they saw a group of men approach Penguin's men. Penguin. Not a dime changes hands in the city he can't tell you about. If anyone knows where Black Mask and his assassins are, it's him. But Penguin's hard to find. His men are doing a deal here. I'll make them talk. Eyes. Loose lips, the one in charge of the deal shouted. So, little boys, what do you want for Christmas? Oh wait, I already know. He snapped his fingers and gestured for the thug carrying the briefcase to open it. Inside was a sniper rifle. One of the men from the group threw a briefcase to Loose Lips. Now let's see if you've been naughty or nice. One of the men in the group approached a briefcase and put all the pieces of the sniper rifle together. Hunk in the Santa hat must be in charge. Batman observed. What was your first clue? Spider-Man remarked. Where's the rest of them? Someone asked Loose Lips. Easy, Tiger. When you deal with us, you're dealing with the Penguin. This ain't some fly-by-night operation. Loose Lips replied. Then the two heroes jumped down on two of the criminals before another word could be said. After the heroes knocked out each criminal one by one, until Loose Lips was the only one left standing. Batman threw him onto the chair and chucked the briefcase at him. Get away. Loose Lips tried to scream as Batman kicked him square in the chest, toppling the chair over. No, no. He screamed as Batman jumped on him and lifted him high in the air. Where's the Penguin? Batman interrogated him. I don't know. Loose Lips choked out. Where is he? Batman demanded, lifting him higher in the air. I swear. Was all he was able to say before passing out. Bang. What do we do now? Spider-Man asked. Batman turned his head to look up at the Gotham Bank. I think I have an idea. Wake up. Batman said. Loose Lips slowly regained his conscience. What would happen? Was all he said before he panicked once he realized his predicament. He was hanging upside down by Batman above the Gotham Bank building. Time to talk. Where's Cobblepot? Let me go. If you insist. Batman said as he dropped Loose Lips. He screamed before a web latched onto his foot and he was slammed into the clock on the building. When his phone began to ring, he realized that he was being pulled up. He looked up and saw that it was Spider-Man who caught perched on the underside of the gargoyle Batman was standing on. You know, you should really be careful of what you say. Spidey said as he handed the web line to Batman. He then pulled him up further as Loose Lips began to beg. Please stop, I'll talk, I'll tell you anything you want to know. Please. Batman took the phone out of his pocket and read the text that Penguin had sent to Loose Lips. Too late, we already have what we need. No. He said as Batman let him go. He screamed in terror until he fell straight into the giant Christmas tree below him. You're crazy. You're friggin' crazy. Loose Lips shouted at Batman from the tree. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree with the criminal. Spidey gulped, in shock of what just happened. If I can read this SIM card, I may be able to locate Penguin. Batman said, dismissing what just happened. When Batman tried to use his cryptographic sequencer, there was some sort of jamming signal blocking him. Alfred, I'm getting interference on my comm systems. Is that on your side? No sir. I'm seeing it as well. It's from the nearby GCR tower. It's the same signal jamming the Batwing's auto-nav systems. I've highlighted the tower on your map. We'll need to stop that signal before I can track down the Penguin. The two heroes made their way towards the GCR tower. As they approached the building, they saw a group of criminals on the roof guarding the door to the GCR control room. I'm just happy to have work right now, said one of the criminals. But don't you think it's weird? We've never seen this guy or heard his voice. Nothing but text from an unlisted number, responded another. Why do I care, long as the money shows up in my bank account? As soon as he said that, Batman and Spider-Man leaped into action. They took down every thug until none were left standing. Well, look who just showed up. Have you two really decided to try and take me on? Get to it, then. I'm looking forward to watching you both fail. Came Enigma's voice over their comms. Batman was about to pull out his remote-controlled batarang when Spider-Man said, "I got this," as he ripped the door off. Typical. I mean, why apply cognitive resources to a problem when you can just use brute force? Enigma whined. You know, if you'd asked nicely, I'd have opened it for you. Enigma remarked once they opened a metal door that looked similar to one from before. Once Batman hacked the tower, Enigma came back on the screen. Congratulations are in order. Maybe you're not as stupid as I've been led to believe. Why are you doing this, Enigma? Batman demanded. Direct. I like it. So I'll tell you. Gotham is sullied. It's filled with brutes who control the city through violence and intimidation. You didn't answer his question. Spidey said. Because you didn't let me finish. I want to get rid of them. To improve Gotham's intellectual and moral standing. But I'm not a thug like you. My approach is a bit more refined. What you're doing is no different than stealing. There's nothing refined about it, Batman stated. Your response is as predictable as it is banal. Goodbye, he said as the transmission was turned off. Once the two were back on the roof, Batman said, now I can access the SIM card I took from that arms dealer and hack Penguin's communications. Once Batman found the coordinates, they could hear Penguin's men talking about the deal. The Penguin's pretty ticked off about the deal going south, came a voice. Yeah, if I was involved in that, I'd be on my way out of the city, came another. Alfred, I'm reading a signal from Penguin's men, but it's not associated with any known wireless frequency, Batman said. Ah yes. I see it here. Looks like Penguin runs his own private wireless network using laptop transmitters serving as ad hoc comm stations. He's feeding his men frequencies via two-way radio. There are 2 of these comm stations near your position. Good. Mark them on my map. Alone find and hack those walkie-talkies. I can triangulate Penguin's position, Batman said as he ended the transmission. He then turned to Spider-Man. We should split up. I'll go to Gotham Casino, you head to the Cyanus Steel Mill. You know where that is? Yeah, don't worry, I know my way around this place. Good, we'll meet on the roof of the Ambertech building, you can give me the SIM card there, he said as he took out his grapnel gun and flew off. Once Batman got there, he could overhear the thugs talking. I start my training tomorrow. Gonna kick butt in next year's boiler deck. I already started looking into some self-defense classes, said another thug. Self-defense? What's that all about? Questioned one of the thugs. You know, martial arts techniques on how to defend yourself from an attacker. Defend yourself? You just gonna stand there and defend yourself while the other guy walls on you? You won't last 2 rounds. Then Batman came in and took all of them out. Once they were out cold, he took the SIM card from the nearby computer and hacked into their communications. The Batman and the Spider-Man. You expect me to believe that? Listen, I happen to know that those 2 got way more important things to do tonight than mess with our shipment. Probably saving their own butts. So next time you want to make up a story, you better make sure the person you're telling it to is dumber than you are. Oh wait, that's right, there ain't no one dumber than you. Came Penguin's voice. Mr. Cobblepot. I swear it was the Bat and Spider. They dropped Ricky off the roof of the clock tower straight into the Christmas tree, said one of Penguin's men. I don't care what you think you saw. If you're not back here with my money in the next 10 minutes, I'll cut your dang eyeballs out. And then you won't have to worry about seeing nothing ever again. Is that clear? Yes, Mr. Cobblepot. I'm sorry, Mr. Cobblepot. I hope Spider-Man has the last card by now, Batman thought as he made his to the Ambertech building. Meanwhile, Spidey had just taken out all of the guards in the area and grabbed the card. Once he made it to the Ambertech building, he saw Batman was already there. You took longer than I thought, Batman commented. Yeah, here. Spidey said as he handed Batman the card. Once Batman hacked the card, they heard the Penguin talking. Alright everyone, listen up. I know I ought to cancel our annual boiler deck fights after what happened tonight at Jezebel Plaza, but just to show you what a nice guys I am, the fights are still on. So get to the ship right now if you want in on this. Do I make myself clear? Good, I ain't waiting for laggers. There you are. On board the final offer, Batman said as a map of the final offer appears on his gauntlet. Penguin's been hiding out on an old ship. No wonder he's been so hard to find, Spidey remarked as they turned to the boat that was next to them. So, you ready? Spee says. Batman doesn't reply and jumps off the roof and glides towards the boat. Hey. Wait up. Spidey shouts as he quickly swings after him. As they approach the final offer, Batman noticed the Penguin had the snipers on guard. Penguin's got snipers out. We'll have to take the snipers down silently to proceed. There was one sniper on the mast of the ship and another on top of the shipping container. Below them on the deck, there were 2 of Penguin's men guarding the entrance, while 6 others in the surrounding area. Batman landed on the mast and approached the sniper silently behind him before taking him out. Spider-Man landed next to him once the sniper was unconscious. "You have a plan, right?" Batman nodded. "You take out sniper over there, then I'll take out the guys on the right, and you take the ones on the left. Once they're dealt with, we'll take out the guys by the entrance together." "Got it," Spidey said. As he began to make his way over to the sniper, he could hear Penguin's men talking. "So, who's the outside challenger this year?" "Some guy Baczynski." "Oh, yeah. I heard of him. Big guy with a big mouth. Calls himself Electric." "That's right. Wait a sec, they ain't gonna let him use those gloves in the fight, is they?" "Hope not. That'd shift the odds." "Yeah, it would. I gotta call my bookie." Once Spidey was behind the sniper, he silently took him down. Once Batman saw Spider-Man knock him out, he began to take out the guards on the right side of the ship silently, while Spidey took out the ones on the left. Once that was done, the 2 met on the walkway above the entrance. "On my count, 3, 2, 1. Batman said as he gilded down to one guard and kicked him while Spidey zipped down to the other guard and used his momentum to knock him down and web him in place. He looked over to see Batman knocking the guard out before he could get back up. Then, the 2 entered the ship. Once they were inside, 2 of Penguin's men were waiting for them with knives. "You want to get cut, freaks? Looks like someone brought a bat and a spider to knife fight." Then the 2 charged at the heroes, ready to cut them. However, Batman and Spider-Man were expecting it and quickly dodged the attacks before knocking them out easily. All of a sudden, Penguin's voice came over the loudspeaker. "Ha ha 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 ha, welcome to this year's boiler deck fights. You know, I always get a laugh out of you first round lot, ha ha. That's why I keep you boys round, ha ha. Well, that and I need someone to clean out the pier. Ha ha ha. And don't think I didn't notice those of you who didn't bet on yourselves. You're either cheap or lacking confidence. Neither are desirable qualities. I'll sort out you lot after the tourney. But let's get started. Who's ready for some action? Penguin is hosting some kind of fighting tournament. That's where we need to go," Batman said to Spider-Man as he replied with a nod. As the 2 were walking, they could hear Penguin's crew testing out the guns. "The latest in military surveillance gear. Not bad," came a voice from one of the men. "Yeah. Pretty sweet, right? My cousin was using these in the war. Boss find any buyers for him yet?" "Nah, Penguin's just been testing them out on his own so far." Batman opened the door and knocked out the criminal in front of him. Then the 2 heroes proceeded to fight all the goons until none were left standing. "All available hands report to aft deck 4. Engine room starting to ood. Needs to be pumped out pronto," came a voice over the loudspeaker as Batman and Spider-Man entered the next room. They then entered an area that led to 2 places. One led to the boiler deck fight and the other went somewhere else. The hallway that led to the boiler deck was flooded with deep water. Spidey realized that he could make it across, however Batman could not. Spidey turned to Batman. "You wouldn't happen to suddenly have the ability to fly, right?" Spidey joked but was answered with silence. "Don't worry, I'll let you catch up," he said as he swung across the corridor. Batman only glared at him but remained silent as took the second route. When Batman entered the engine room, he saw that the area was surrounded by fire, and the only way to get to the next room was to use a small pipeline. As he balanced one of the pipes, he could hear people talking. "Wish I had field duty instead of cleaning up after the accident. Why's it matter? At least it's warm in here," someone responded. Once that he had made it across, he moved forward until he saw more men on a platform below them. "Yeah, but tonight's the night. They're going after the Bat and the Spider." "The Bat and the Spider? You serious? I thought they were like urban myths." "Oh, they're real enough. At least the Bat is, just ask Mickey." "Mickey? You know. Lefty. Lefty? Oh, Lefty. Itch." Then Batman performed a glide kick to the back of one of Penguin's crew below them. The criminals didn't stand a chance against him as they were beaten down. As Batman was fighting, the same voice from before came back. "Hey, listen up. Unless y'all want this ship re-stinned on the bottom of the channel, I need some hands in the engine room right now, as in now to pump her out." Batman turned forward to see the area in front of them was completely flooded. Batman scanned the area until he spotted a tiny raft he could use. He then pulled out his Batclaw and pulled the raft over to him. "Huh, how convenient," thought Batman. "Alright, time for a status report. Decks 1 and 2. Still looted. Deck 3. About half flooded still. No real change there. Repairs on Deck 4 are coming along quite well, and no thanks to most of you lousy lugs. We've got the ooting in the engine room under control. That's all. Have a nice night. Enjoy the fights." As Batman moved forward, he realized that he had hit a dead end. Above him appeared to be a weak floor that looked like it would crumble at any moment. Batman thought of an idea that might work. He shot his Batclaw at the ring that was hanging from it and began pulling towards him until the floor gave way. Then Batman proceeded forward and walked through a door that led them to an area that gave him a good look at the fight. As he entered, he saw Spider-Man waiting for him. "You sure took your time," Spidey said, but again was met with silence as Batman stared daggers into him. They could see the Penguin high above the fighting area, above other spectators who were cheering on as two men were throwing punches and kicks at one another. "Come on, son. At least make a show of it," shouted Penguin. "Alright lads, the rest of you losers are gonna have to embarrass yourselves without me. God knows you can do it. I got some business to take care of in me office, and I don't want to be disturbed. Tracy'll be running the fights till I get back." Sounds like Penguin will be in his office. Tracy should know where that is. I'll make her talk, Batman thought. Batman tried to open the door, but realized it was locked. He began to climb up the room to find another way in. Spidey followed him up as they reached the top of the platform and ran across the catwalk in front of them, dodging the steam from the steam pipes above them. Once they made it to the top, they saw a circular steam pipe that was big enough for them to crawl through. Batman pulled open the latch with his Batclaw and crawled through it as it led to the arena of the fight. Once they dropped down, they saw everyone staring at them in shock and confusion. Then their attention turned towards a lady that was walking towards them and then leaned on the rail and said, "Now there's a pair of naughty cheeses. Proper naughty. And they deserve a right proper welcome. Don they lads," she said as she gestured behind her. They looked over to see the electrocutioner walking down a set of stairs behind Tracy. "You two just saved me a lot of trouble coming here, Batman and Spider-Man," he said before jumped from the stairwell onto the platform above the arena. "I'ma kill you," he says as he points at them. "Then, I'ma jumpstart your hearts and kill you again," he said as he sent electricity running through the railing he was holding onto. Then he leaped over the railing and landed on the ground, sending small waves of electricity towards the heroes as he slammed his fist on the metal beneath him. "Are you ready?" he yelled as the crowd cheered him on. Electrocutioner got ready to fight as put his hands in front of him and cracked his neck. "We're looking for Black Mask. Where is he?" Batman questioned, not in the mood for this. "Haha, I ain't here to talk. I'm here to kick both your butts," he responded. "This is your last chance, buddy," Spidey said. However, Electrocutioner did not listen and began trash-talking the two. The heroes looked at each other, almost as if they were reading the other's mind, before nodding to each other as the two jumped and kicked the Electrocutioner square in the face, rendering him unconscious. Spidey was a little surprised about how fast the fight ended. "Well, that was easy," he mentally said to himself. "Who wants to show us where the Penguin is?" Batman shouted toward the crowd. "Alright you lousy mugs, time turn your supper," Tracy said as Penguin's men began jumping into the arena. The two began fighting off the men as Tracy began shouting at the men to motivate them to fight better, but it clearly wasn't working. Once there was only a handful left standing, Tracy took her leave and said, "Bugger it all. You lads sure are a disappointment. To the casino, then. Someone's gotta warn Cobblepot what's coming his way." Once there was only one man standing, Batman picked him up by the throat and began to interrogate him. "Where's Cobblepot?" "I ain't telling you Jack. A little more pressure and I'll crush your larynx." "What's it going to be?" Alright. He's in his office. Only way is through the theater, on the other side of the casino. But you'll never get past Tracy. Tracy is not a problem," he finished before knocking him out. That worked better than the last interrogation, Batman thought as he began to make his way out of the arena. "Wait, shouldn't we see if Electrocutioner knows anything?" Spidey asks. Someone as paranoid as Black Mask wouldn't trust a loud mouth like him with any secrets. "If we want to find Cyanus, we'll need to find Penguin first. Now come on." Spidey shrugged before quickly following after him as they moved to the platform above the arena and made their way to the deck access corridor. The end of the walkway was sealed off up ahead, so the two had to find another way around. They dropped down to the area below them and ran down the corridor and jumped over the deep water below them and slid under a wall with a pipe on it. As the two climbed up to the air duct in front of them, Tracy began to speak over the intercom. "If Mr. Cobblepot finishes with his guest and finds out you numpty prats let the Batman and Spider-Man spoil his boiler deck fights, what do you think he's gonna do to you lot? Think about it, lads. Someone's a bit cranky," Spidey says to Batman. Batman ignores him and slides under a wall which leads to a drop to another area. He notices the ice on the wall and applies explosive gel on it and blows it up. As Batman grapple up to the other walkways above him, Spidey takes a different route up as their voices above them. "Yeah. Heard the boss was just gonna send it to the bottom when he gets the new ship. And say I'll miss the old air rust bucket. What do you think he'll call her? Final offer too." You can't call it that, final offer's the final offer. As in, final. As in you can't make another one. Good point. Well, maybe a new name's good luck. We could use it. Especially if the Bat and that spider guy are here somewhere. Spidey is able to reach the top before Batman does and notices two thugs on the walkway. He then jumps up and throws one off the side and attaches a web from the railing to his leg. Then attacks the other thug with a few strikes before he's knocked unconscious. Once Batman arrives, Spidey has already dealt with the thugs. What took you so long? Spidey quipped. Batman just ignored him and walked past him when Tracy's voice came over the loudspeaker. Alright, you lousy mugs, we're on full alert. I want updates, updates, updates. Anyone seen the intruders? Are they still even on the ship? This is serious, lads. They moved up the stairs at the end of the walkway and walked through the door. Once they entered the upper deck, they could hear more voices. They peeked around the corner to see 3 more of Penguin's men. Full alert, she says. Intruders on board, she says. Yeah, when was the last time we had an intruder on this ship? Heh. Who'd think to break into this heap? All part of Penguin's plan, I'm sure. Question is, can Tracy stop them before they get to the boss? Batman then threw a smoke pellet at them, and the 2 heroes took them out in the confusion. After they were down, Tracy's voice came over the loudspeaker once more. Boy. I got a message for the Batman and Spider-Man from your mate the Electrocutioner. Back on his feet he is, and he says you two may have won this round, but the fight is far from over. He'll be back for the both of yaws. Watch your arses. Baczynski's come too, and now he's on the lam. I should have tied him up and called the cops to get him. Batman thought to himself. Alfred, we had a run-in with one of the assassins, Lester Baczynski. Batman said to Alfred over the radio. The Electrocutioner, are both of you all right? Alfred asked, worried for both of their safeties. We're fine. But he managed to escape. His gloves put out a strong electromagnetic pulse. Are you able to isolate the signal from the cave so we can track him down? Spidey asks. Yes, I can. Where are you two going now? We're on our way to the Final Offers casino. We're going to make Penguin's assistant show us to her boss. Spidey answered. As they finished the call, Spidey noticed the weak ceiling above them. He shot his webs at it and pulled it down. They moved up to the floor above them and saw the air vent to their left. Batman ripped it open and the two crawled through it. Once they reached the other side of the air duct, Batman kicked open the vent and exited it with Spidey behind him. They continued walking until they reached a bar of the casino. They noticed one of Penguin's men was asleep in the corner with a bottle in his hand. Must have partied too hard. Spidey quietly said to himself. They entered the casino and saw Tracy through the glass of a room above the casino. Below them were 3 more of Penguin's men. 2 were counting cash while 1 was patrolling the area. Should I go bring it to him? One of the thugs asked the other. You serious? We gotta move this cash before the Bat and the Spider get here. Right. Hey. You thinkin' what I'm thinkin'? I'm thinkin' you should shut the heck up and pack the money. But there's so much. He ain't gonna miss it if I just take a little Christmas bonus. You hear about the last guy who lined a few bucks? Penguin told him he could work it off at the bottom of the harbor. Hey, I was just askin'. Less askin'. More packin'. Spider-Man silently jumped onto the ceiling and quietly webbed up to the guard patrolling the area and strung him up from the ceiling, while Batman snuck up behind the other 2 and smashed their heads together. Tracy heard the commotion and saw Spidey leap down to the floor next to Batman, who had taken one of the criminals' radio and took out the chip. Aren't you two a persistent pain in me bottle? Mr. Cobblepot ain't taking new visitors, and there ain't no way I'm letting you into the theater to see him. So, you two can be on your merry way. Show them the door, lads. Suddenly, the entrance to the casino opened and out rushed a bunch of Penguin's men. Once all of them were in, she sealed off the doors behind them with metal bars. The criminals didn't stand a chance as the 2 took them all out. When Tracy saw the last of Penguin's men fall, she barricaded the window to her office. Sounds like Cobblepot's office is connected to the theater. And the entrance is controlled from that security room. Spidey informed Batman. Batman spotted an air vent for them to use. Once he ripped off the cover and crawled through the vent, he began to hack the control panel as he heard more of Penguin's men talking. Nothing. I just told her I was working Christmas Eve and there weren't a dang thing she could do about it. One of them said. Like that, huh? Yeah. Like that. Ain't like she's making enough she can tell me what to do. You're right. You can't let them get the upper hand. That's what my dad always said. Course Mom would slap him right after. Once Batman hacked the panel, the door opened to show Spider-Man waiting. Let's kill this Unova, he cut himself off when he saw Spider-Man standing in front of them. Hey guys. How's it going? Spider-Man said as he shot his webs at 2 of the thugs who were holding guns and yanked them out of their hands. By the time Batman reached them, 2 thugs were unconscious, while the last one was strung up on the low ceiling. As they entered the elevator in the room the thugs were in, they heard Tracy talking to someone. "Come on, girl. You're just on the other side of the theater. Step out for a sec and give me an hand." I can't. He's doing business. You know what that means," came another voice. "Yeah. Means someone's getting hurt. But we got serious issues out here. Come on, Trace. You got a whole boat full abrolers. And what about that electrocutor? He's a nasty one, you'll be fine. I'm telling you, they're not some pano and a fancy son. They're naughty. And they's mop in the floor with our best and brightest. Not that that's saying too much. I don't know. Just handle it, sister. He's calling me back in," said the voice as the elevator reached the room Tracy was in. "Ugh. Now I'm really deep in it. Candy. She's earned herself a dry slap, she has." Tracy groaned. She then spotted 2 shadows on her desk. She began to reach for something under the table. "That better be lip gloss you're reaching for," Spidey quipped before Tracy revealed that it was a baseball bat and took a swing at the person closest to her, which turned out to be Batman. Batman grabbed her wrist, knocked the bat out of her hand, twisted her arm back, and pushed her into a tiny cell nearby before closing the door. "Boy. You can't do this. I'm claustrophobic, I am," she shouted. Batman then hacked the control panel and unlocked the door and unblocked the window. Then the 2 jumped out of the window and walked to the door. When Batman tried to open it, a ton of force knocked him back into Spider-Man. As they got back to their feet, they saw who had knocked them back. "Hello, boys. You know you ain't welcome here. And you know what we do to trespassers. Well, you're about to find out, ain't ya?" came the voice of a huge thug as more men surrounded the 2 heroes. In front of them was Penguin's enforcer. All the other goons that circled around them somehow looked smaller compared to him. As he tried to charge at the duo, Spidey quickly webbed him in the face, stopping him dead in his tracks. As he tried to pull the webbing off, Batman took advantage of the distraction and began to attack him with repeated strikes to his stomach, while Spider-Man took care of the rest of the thugs. Once the enforcer was dazed enough, Batman punched his knee away, so he had his back toward him and swung around his neck before slamming his head into the ground. Once Batman turned around, he saw Spidey finish off the last guy by jumping onto the thug's head, slammed him to the floor, and then webbed him there to prevent him from getting up. The duo proceeded through the door and entered the next room. There was a display of a miniature version of the final offer in a display case in the middle of the room. Spidey walked up to it and pressed a button on the display case. A recording of Penguin's voice came through the speakers on the display. "Behold. The final offer. Ain't she a beauty? And to think, I bought her for a song off a band of Somali pirates. They were going to sell her for scrap, if you can believe it. Now she weren't always called the final offer. That was my work of genius. In a previous life, she was the hybrid cargo cruise liner Olivia B. Meredith. A proud old ship indeed. They don't build them like this anymore. Tough as nails, and with all the amenities a man could want. Those pirates don't know what they let slip through their fingers." Spidey had lost interest halfway through the history lesson and had already moved on to the theater with Batman following. As they entered, they saw that there were 5 thugs in the room, and all of them were armed. There was a hostage on the opposite side of the room from where they were standing. Batman turned to see one of the 5 was just a few feet away from them to the right. As he began to silently take him down, he heard one of Penguin's men talking to the hostage. "You gotta know Mr. Falcone's not gonna stand for this," said the hostage. "You want to end up on ice like your friends. You're scum. All at you. You got no idea what you're starting. You don't get it. The Falcones are done. Finished. A dying empire. It's our turn now. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." "You calling me weak?" "Weak. It's from the Bible." "Ah. I ain't never read that book. But if you're the praying type, should shut your mouth and pray your boss tells my what he wants to know. Else both of yas are gonna be, what do you guys say? Swimming with the fishes." "Swimming with the fishes. Oh, that's original. You think of that yourself, you low-class goomba. I'm warning ya. One more word." After they had finished talking, Spidey had already strung up one of the thugs from the bird statue above him silently, and Batman had snuck up behind another Penguin thug and silently took him down. Spidey dropped down to the ground near the next criminal, pulled the thug over to him with his web, smashed him into the wall he was standing next to, and webbed him there. Batman had snuck into the air vent below the last thug that was standing next to the hostage and jumped out the vent and smashed his face into the floor. The hostage then stood up once he saw that the room was secure as Batman walked over to him. "What do you want? I didn't do nothing," said the hostage in a panicked voice. "Who's your boss? What does Penguin want with him?" Batman demands. "Alberto Falcone, but I got no idea what Penguin wants with him, I swear." Before the two could make their way to the door, the Falcone bodyguard decided to say one more thing. I don't know what your game is, but old man Falcone would be in your debt if the two of you take Cobblepot down. He's right through that door back there. No thanks. We don't need the Falcones in our debt. Batman answers before he moves towards the door with Spider-Man right behind him. As they open the door, the heroes surprisingly go unnoticed by everyone in the room as they continue their conversation. Now where were we, Candy? Said Penguin. You suggested little Alberto over here, hey baby. She said as she winked at him. Tried to convince his father to take early retirement. He disagreed, called you a let's see psychotic little idiot. Replied Candy. Penguin slowly walked over to Alberto as he began panicking. No, 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 please. He cried before Penguin whacked him in the stomach with his umbrella. Alberto spat out some blood from his mouth as Penguin lit a cigar and blew smoke in his face. Alberto began coughing as Penguin reached for his apper on a nearby table. Now you best listen, Falcone cos, this is the last time I'll ask, Penguin says as he activates the zapper. He walks in front of Falcone and grabs the back of his head and yanked it back. What are you gonna tell your father? Penguin threatens as he moves the zapper closer to his face. That we're getting out of the weapons business. I promise. I'll make him do it. Alberto says as sparks from the zapper shoot out from it near his face. Penguin throws his head forward and starts laughing. I see your lips flapped in, Birdie, but they ain't mackin' the sound I want to hear. Penguin says before he starts zapping him a few times before a batarang comes out of nowhere and knocks the zapper out of his hands. Penguin sees the two heroes standing in the room and quickly takes cover behind Falcone. You idiots better kill them, cause if not, you better hope they kill you. He threatens. Please. Don't hurt me. Falcone begs. As the two begin taking down the thugs. Penguin begins yelling at his men to do better as Batman and Spider-Man mop the floor with them. Penguin then begins panicking as he realizes that all the thugs are knocked out. Now hold on a bloody minute. He begs before Batman picks him up and throws him at a nearby mirror, shattering glass everywhere as Penguin lands on the table. I seen your axe. I ain't done nothing you two not a done. He says before Batman throws him off the table and onto the floor. As Penguin tries to get up, Batman slams his head onto the floor. Black Mask. Put a bounty on our heads. Where is he? He shouts. I don't keep tabs on every geezer with a grudge. You two aren't popular blokes in this town. Penguin responds before Batman flips him off his stomach and onto his back and punches him in the face a few times. He then lifts Penguin high into the air by his throat. You're running out of time. Batman says and then punches Penguin in the face. Wait, Lacy towers. There was a murder. It was supposed to be his safe house. As Penguin was being interrogated, Spider-Man could have sworn he heard footsteps behind them. But all Black Mask, he's got problems off his own, I'd say. Someone broke in there and Spidey felt his spider senses tingling. Batman, watch out. He shouts before he and Batman's felt something wrap around their feet. They fall down and are dragged across the floor. Batman grabs onto the doorframe as Spidey is yanked out of the room and is hanging upside down from a wire. Batman is kicked in the face by the mysterious person and lets go of the doorframe and hangs right next to Spider-Man. They both see the man walk towards them with a sword in hand. He then tries to stab Batman, but he counters it and is able to get a hold of the sword. He knocks the man back and cut the wire around Spidey's foot in his. He then glides down to the boiler deck below them as Spidey is able to get his feet under him and sticks the landing. The mysterious man drops down in front of them, revealing it to be Deathstroke. Batman drops the sword as Deathstroke pulls out another sword from his back. The two begin circling the assassin as they get ready for a fight. It appears the game is over before it even begins. Deathstroke taunts. We're not here to play games. Spidey says as he and Batman get into fighting stances. Tell us where we can find Black Mask. Batman said. Tracking the both of you down was much easier than I thought. Perhaps you two won't be much of a challenge after all. Deathstroke said as he put his sword away and took out his bow staff. He then lunged at Batman, who quickly countered it and tried to strike him, but he rolled out of the way. Deathstroke tried to attack again, but Batman once again countered and pushed him forward toward Spider-Man, who saw an opening and struck Deathstroke in the face. Spider-Man tried to punch Deathstroke, but he blocked it with his staff and knocked Spider-Man off balance. Deathstroke spun around and tried to jab his side with the staff, but Spider-Man countered by grabbing the staff, shoving him forward, and elbowing him in the back towards Batman, who hit him with a roundhouse kick to the face. Batman tried to strike him once more, but Deathstroke swatted his fist away and hit his shoulder and the side of his face with his staff. He then brought his staff down over his head trying to hit him, but Batman moved out of the way quickly and connected his knee to his face, where then Spider-Man dropped, kicked him in the back, pushing him towards the Dark Knight, and was kneed in the stomach. Deathstroke turned his attention back to Spider-Man and tried to strike him as he did before, but was met with the same results. Batman then turned Deathstroke's attention back towards him as he assaulted him with a flurry of strikes and kicks. Batman then grabbed his staff and threw Deathstroke over himself toward Spider-Man, who kicked him in midair and sent him almost halfway across the room. "That was a mistake," Deathstroke said before throwing a flashbang on the ground, stunning the heroes for a few moments. That was all the time Deathstroke needed to jump towards Batman and began to strike him repeatedly with his staff as Batman blocked each strike. He then brought both hands up, stopping the staff from striking, and then headbutted him and began a flurry of punches. Batman was able to hit Deathstroke hard enough to knock his mask off. "Geez, how are you not getting any back pains from this?" Spidey jokes. Deathstroke tried to smack Batman with his staff, but Batman grabbed a hold of it and swung it back at Deathstroke's face. Deathstroke then tried to strike Batman's side with the staff, but was stopped again. Batman tried to elbow him in the back, but Deathstroke was anticipating it and dodged it by jumping in the air and preparing to strike down with his staff. However, Batman caught it and threw Deathstroke over his head and onto the ground. Spider-Man tried to slam his foot into Deathstroke's stomach, but he was able to roll out of the way. Deathstroke then smacked Spider-Man away and tried to slam his staff on his head. Spider-Man was able to dodge and was preparing to knee him, but Deathstroke rolled out of the way and tried to swing his staff at him. Spider-Man ducked under it and threw him into the air and brought him crashing to the floor with his webs. "After that, I would probably start looking for a wheelchair if I were you, old man," Spidey quipped. "Shut up and fight, kid," Deathstroke growled. Then Deathstroke jumped in the air and took out his remote claw and shot it at Spider-Man. It connected to his chest and shot out to an explosive barrel above the arena and pulled it over to Spider-Man. Spidey acted quickly and grabbed the barrel when it was close enough and threw it at Deathstroke, who was trying to shoot him. "You'll regret that," Deathstroke yells before throwing another flashbang onto the ground and blinding the two once more. This time, Deathstroke lunged toward Spider-Man and began attacking him with multiple strikes with his staff. Once Spider-Man saw an opening in his attacks, he webbed him in the face and began his beatdown on Deathstroke. Once he ripped the webbing off his face, Deathstroke then tried to bash Spider-Man with his staff. Unfortunately for him, Spidey was able to grab and push Deathstroke away and broke his staff over his knee. "Oops," was all Spidey said. Deathstroke pulled out his sword from before and got into a fighting stance. "You know, I think a cane would be more useful," Spidey said. Batman leaped forward and tried to kick Deathstroke, only to hit air as Deathstroke swung his sword and tried to kick him. Batman swatted his foot away and tried to punch him, but Deathstroke sidestepped and turned his attention over to Spider-Man. He then swung his sword at Spidey's neck, but he ducked under it and tried to counter with a clothesline. Deathstroke rolled under it and returned his focus back to the Dark Knight and swung his sword at him. However, Batman blocked it and kicked him in the face. Deathstroke used his remote claw once more, but this time on Batman, only to be met with another explosive barrel to his face. He then tried to swing his sword at Batman, who blocked it and kicked him towards Spider-Man, who landed a few strikes on his legs and stomach before knocking him back towards Batman. Deathstroke tried to land a hit on Batman, but he dodged it and knocked him back with a punch to the face. "Surprising," Deathstroke said before throwing down another flashbang and leapt at Batman with another flurry of strikes from his sword. Batman blocked every hit once again before Deathstroke quickly swung his sword at Batman's chest but was caught. Spidey decided that now was the best time to intervene and kick Deathstroke away. He then rushed towards Batman, but he was able to uppercut Deathstroke and hit him with the blunt end of the sword on the head and kicked back toward the wall with his sword in Batman's hand. "It's over, Slade," Batman said. "What are you two?" Deathstroke growled before Batman threw the sword at him. However, he aimed to miss, so it got stuck into the wall. Batman then uppercutted him back to the wall and kicked him in the face, into the sword. He then collapsed on the ground, unconscious. "Not gonna lie, that was pretty awesome," Spidey said as he walked up behind Batman. As Batman kneeled down over Deathstroke to see if he was awake or not, he heard a voice ring out. "It was nice seeing you two. Feel free to let yourselves out," came Penguin's voice from above. He was standing on the balcony with Candy and Tracy. He then turned around and walked back into his office with Candy as he lightly smacked her on the butt and closed the doors behind him. Once Penguin had walked back into his office, Batman turned to Spider-Man. "We can't let Penguin get away. There's more I need to ask him," he said. He then turned around to Deathstroke, bent down to take the remote claw from earlier off him. "What are you going to do with that?" Spidey asked. "I can use this device to get up to the balcony," Batman responded. "How?" "You'll see," he replied. Batman then aimed the remote claw at two anchors above the balcony to create a line of wire. Once it was in place, he grappled onto the line and dropped down onto the balcony. Spider-Man then web-zipped after him as Batman tried to open the door to find it locked. Suddenly, Penguin appeared on a screen through a projector. "You'll have more luck getting into a nun's skivvies than getting into this room. Go on, then. Beat it a bit harder. Really make me feel it. Well, as you can see, I got me hands full. Ave and pee off. Ha 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 ha. Alfred, see if you can find any information on a murder at Lacy Towers." Batman asked Alfred through his communicator. Looks like police are on the scene now, sir. Oh, and this is interesting. They're saying Black Mask is the victim." He responds. "Black Mask dead? We're on our way there now," Batman states before ending the transmission. "This just gets better and better," Spidey sarcastically says before jumping off the balcony and begins making his way towards the exit with Batman following behind him. Once they walk down the stairs towards deck 1, Batman realized that he could get across the ravine with a remote claw. He then created a line for him to walk across, while Spidey used his webs to make it to the other platform. "Alfred, get GCPD to take a look at the final offer, moored at Dixon Docks. They'll find Slade Wilson tied up and waiting for them, along with some of Penguin's illegally obtained weapons." "Another anonymous tip." "Will do, sir," Alfred said in an annoyed tone. Once the two entered the next room, the monitors showed a man in a red hood around his head and wore an anarchist mask on his face. He wore an orange scarf around his neck and a red jacket with an Anarchy symbol. "Oppressed citizens of Gotham, your cries for help have been heard. I am Anarchy, voice of the people, here to save you from the plague of corruption that now infests this once proud city. Those hired and elected to keep us free and safe won't lift a finger. And why would they? They've been bought and paid for, encouraged to turn a blind eye. If they won't act, I will. At dawn's first light, the sources of Gotham's ruin will be destroyed." Now back to your regularly scheduled programming of propaganda and consumerist garbage. "As if there isn't enough going on tonight," Batman says sarcastically. "You said it," Spidey scoffs. Once the two heroes left the final offer, a video of Anarchy appears in front of them on the mast of the ship. "Hello, Batman and Spider-Man. I was hoping to get a minute of your time. See, I've got a story to tell you too. About crime and violence. Greed and vengeance. But it's also a story of redemption. Of second chances. Of change. I've planted 3 bombs where Gotham's corruption is at its strongest. But unlike those I fight to overthrow, I believe in choice. So I offer both of you one. Let them detonate or stop them. Your actions will determine what I do with you too." The two heroes spotted a man on the walkway above the projector. They quickly made their way up to him to find out what he was doing. As they walked towards them, the man quickly tried to calm them down. "Whoa, easy now. I ain't looking for a fight. Got a message, that's all. Anarchy says if you're gonna make a withdrawal, you better do it soon." "What are you talking about?" Spidey asked, confused with what the man said. "It's a clue. One of Anarchy's bombs is at the bank. Come on, we need to hurry," Batman says before jumping off the side and gliding towards the bank with Spider-Man in tow. Once the two got there, they saw that they would have to fight through Anarchy's followers to deactivate the bomb. Once they made their presence known, they took down all the thugs as fast as they could. Once they were all down, they quickly rushed toward the bomb. "Okay, there has to be some sort of wire to see." Spider-Man didn't get to finish as Batman smashed his fist through the glass and defused it by hand. "Or we could just do that," Spider-Man muttered to himself. Batman ignores his comment and contacts Alfred. "Alfred, we've got a problem. So I saw. This Anarchy fella mentioned 3 bombs, which means 2 still remain. We need to find them." "I've no doubt you both will, sir. So, which way is it to Lacy Towers?" Spider-Man asked Batman once he ended the transmission. "We're not going there just yet." "Why not?" "If we're going to figure out what happened, I'm going to need your help. I'm guessing the lens on your mask aren't able to play back crime scenes." No," he responded. "Then we need to return to the cave. I have something there that you might be able to use," Batman said before he called for the Batwing. Once the Batwing arrived, it hovered above them as Batman grappled up to it while Spidey used his webs. Once they were inside, the Batwing quickly flew towards the Batcave. Once the Batwing landed, the two exited the vehicle and were greeted by Alfred. "Back already, sir? I assumed you two would be at Lacy Towers," Alfred said, confused as to why they were here. "We need something from the cave before we go there. Do you still have the lens from the prototype suit?" Batman asked. "The first ones you made?" "Of course, sir, but may I ask what would you need them for?" "I'll need Spider-Man's help to investigate the crime scene. Since his suit doesn't use a scanner to recreate crime scenes, I figured the lens from the prototype should fit him perfectly." "Ah, I see. This way, sir, they should be on the workbench," Alfred said, gesturing toward Spider-Man. He led him down the steps to the left where the workbench was stationed. There on the table were big white lenses that looked like they fit Spider-Man's mask perfectly. "Geez, how big were your eyes going to be?" Spidey joked. Will they be able to fit? Batman said, ignoring his comment. Yeah, they should. But I might need to take off my mask to put them on. Don't worry sir, we shall give you some privacy. Alfred said before turning around and returning to the big computer. Meet me by the Batwing when you're done. Batman added before walking off as well. A few minutes pass by before Spidey is finally able to put them in his mask. He tests them out by expanding and closing the lenses to see if they work. Have you finished yet sir? Spidey heard Alfred call out. Yeah, just finished. Ah good, so how do they fit? Hope that they meet your needs. So far they work pretty well. Very good. Master B, I mean Batman is waiting by the Batwing for you. Best not to keep him waiting. Alfred said. Spider-Man nodded his head and made his way toward the Batwing. As Batman saw him approach, he asked, are you ready to go now? Spidey responded with a quick nod as Batman activated the Batwing. They both hopped in before the Batwing sped off to Lacy Towers. Once the Batwing was close enough to Lacy Towers, the two heroes jumped out and made their way across the city. So, which one is Lacy Towers? Spidey asked as he swung next to Batman. We can't go there yet. First, we'll need to take out the police in the area. The cops investigating this crime should have a relay station set up. It will look like a mobile satellite dish, probably on a rooftop. Oh, you mean like right there? Spidey said while gesturing towards a rooftop nearby that was surrounded by 3 police guards. Batman then glided down and kicked the nearby guard and sent him flying towards the other guards. Spidey then landed on the other guard before webbing down to the roof. Batman then quickly knocked out the last 2 guards before taking out his cryptographic sequencer. What are you doing? Spidey asked as he walked up to him. Hacking into the satellite to listen to the GCPD broadcast. He answered. Rubio, what's your 20? Came a voice through Batman's device. On the balcony for a smoke with Jimenez. The two then spotted 2 SWAT guards walking out of the nearby building toward the balcony. Those men on the balcony, that could be our way in. Batman stated. As the heroes began to position themselves above the guards, they heard them discussing the murder. Open and shut case. Penguin murdered Black Mask and his lady friend. I mean we found the idiot's stubby-like fingerprints right by the bodies. Yeah, we got Penguin now. Like to see him squirm out of this one. Fingerprints. 2 dead bodies. He's bout to do some time. Yeah, except forensics'll take all the credit and I'm the one who found the prints. That's why it's called first response. First pickings on the loot but none of the glory. Me? I'd take the loot over the glory any day. Those were the last words spoken before both Batman and Spider-Man jumped down on top of them and knocked them out. After you sir. Spidey said in an upper-class accent as he opened the door for Batman. Batman just scowled at him before entering with Spider-Man behind him.